how's everybody doing? Hotep. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. It is Thursday, June 14th, 2018. And I wanted to talk about Juneteenth for a few minutes here. And I'll be in Atlanta coming up Friday, June 15th through Sunday, June 17th. At the huge Juneteenth celebration that they do in Atlanta. It's a 3-day celebration, right? So I remember, when I was in college, that's when I found out about Juneteenth, all right? I didn't know about it before then. And Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, when enslaved Africans in Galveston, Texas, found out that they were free, okay? And this is 2 months after, this is 2 weeks after the Civil War ends, okay? So the Civil War officially ends June 2nd, 1865, and they found out June 19th, 1865, that they were free, okay? And there's speculation, different reasons why it took so long. We know this is also 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation of June 1st, 1863, even though the Emancipation Proclamation did not free any slaves, right? So you have celebrations across the country that celebrate Juneteenth. Over 40 states across the country have celebrations, okay? And it's basically, it's looked at as an African-American Independence Day, all right? So in Atlanta, you have it taking place Friday, June 15th through Sunday, June 17th. It's at Mozely Park, M-O-Z-L-E, Mozely Park, 1565 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, 1565 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Northwest Atlanta, okay? And it's a free event. Come on out. They have part of it at Morris Brown College, okay? But for more information, visit JuneteenthATL.com, JuneteenthATL.com, and then also AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right? So I'll be speaking on Saturday. I'm going to try to stream it on Facebook Live also. I'm speaking sometime on Saturday, but I have a vendor table all 3 days. I'll have my DVDs there, so come on out, right? So in this year, they are remembering the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as well, right? So I'm going to tie Juneteenth, I'll tie that to the Emancipation Proclamation, tie that to Dr. King's speech August 28th, 1963, originally called a canceled check. It was renamed I Have a Dream. That's not the original name of the speech. And then I'll tie Dr. King to Malcolm X. I'll tie Dr. King to Malcolm X as well, okay? Because when Malcolm officially separated from the Nation of Islam, March 8th, 1964, Malcolm X joins the Civil Rights Movement, and he helps radicalize the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, so a lot of people don't talk about this, all right? Okay, so if we look at briefly some of the history of Juneteenth, all right, how's everybody doing? Hey, share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also, okay? And if you want to learn more dealing with our history, especially dealing with the transatlantic slave trade, be sure to register for the online courses that I teach. They're all on demand, and we have them in a bundle pack. The most extensive one is called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That's a 14-hour, 7-session online course. It's all on demand. And then we have Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization, and some other ones. It's 10 in that bundle pack. It's on sale $60, regularly $130, okay? So Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, right, when Major General Gordon Granger of the Union Army lands in Galveston, Texas, leads the Union troops into Galveston, Texas, and he delivers General Order Number 3, okay? And this takes place 2 months after General Robert E. Lee surrenders, which was April of 1865. Okay, and General Order Number 3 said the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and free laborer. Okay, so what's going to take place is that even though this and they are enforcing the Emancipation Proclamation from January 1st, 1863. But the Emancipation Proclamation was a military strategy to to take away the enslaved Africans from the South, because they were being used also by the Confederate armies. They were being used to dig ditches and wash clothes and cook food, things like this. So the Union had no legal authority to really free the enslaved Africans. Because remember, see, the South has seceded from the Union. They set up their own government. It starts with South Carolina seceding from the Union December 20th, 1861, which is 6 weeks after Abraham Lincoln became president-elect, November 6, 1861. Okay. And I'm sorry, 1860. Okay, 1860. 1861, the following year, April 12, 1861, the Civil War starts. So Lincoln becomes president-elect November 6, 1860. Okay, he's the candidate for the Republican Party, which is the party of abolitionists. All right, and you have Southern states who think that he's going to free the slaves. So they start seceding from the Union. They start breaking away from the Union, set up their own government, have their own flag, okay, set up their own constitution, elect their own president. Jefferson Davis was elected as president. So now that they're no longer under the rule of the Union, you can't then dictate what they do. And I encourage people to read the Emancipation Proclamation at loc.gov, Library of Congress's website, loc.gov. Okay, because it tells you, basically, it says that the slaves in states that are in rebellion, okay, the Confederate states, slaves in states that are in rebellion are free. It tells you that slaves that are in the border states like Delaware, Missouri, and Kentucky, they're still enslaved. Then it makes all these exceptions also for different areas that had come back into the Union, that were a part of the Confederacy, but territories that came back into the Union, okay? They were still slaves also. So when you had what was called Watch Night, and that was December 31st, 1862, the night going into January 1st. And slaves were they were watching to see what happened, waiting to see what happened, to see if this Emancipation Proclamation was delivered. But it did not free them. So what's legally going to free the enslaved Africans was the 13th Amendment, which was ratified December 6, 1865, and it passes December 18th, 1865. This is what legally frees them, okay? It is not the Emancipation Proclamation. This is, unfortunately, you know, some schools are still teaching our children that the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, which it did not, okay? So we have to understand that. All right, so the reaction to General Order Number 3 was profound news, and it ranged from pure shock to immediate jubilation. While many lingered to learn of this new employer-to-employee relationship, many left before these offers were completely off the lips of their former masters, okay? So some are just leaving the plantations, right? When this is delivered in Galveston, Texas, some are just leaving the plantations and said, we're out of here, all right? And what's going to take place largely in the South is you're going to have the sharecropping system that is instituted, and you're going to have black codes that are instituted, 1865, 1866, that regulate the movements of the newly freed African Americans. And these black codes are going to stipulate that you have labor contracts with plantations, and they're renewed each year, the beginning of the year. And these labor contracts are going to tie you back to the plantations that you were freed from, oftentimes. Sometimes it may be a different plantation, sometimes it may be the same plantation. Because the South is destroyed, basically. So they're trying to figure out, where's the labor force coming from? Where's the workforce coming from? So then they institute the sharecropping system, okay, where you are basically a tenant farmer. You live on the land. You're charged a certain amount for the seed and for the housing and all this throughout the year, and then you plant the crops, and you hope that when you harvest the crops and sell them, you have enough money to pay off your debt, right, and still have some money left over. Well, we know there's a history of these newly freed Africans being cheated out of their money, staying in debt to the former slave master. Okay, so this is what happens after the Civil War ends. This is during Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. Okay, at the same time, largely we were not compensated with land, which was the foundation of freedom. Okay, so we were freed, but we were not necessarily given freedom, because the land was the foundation of independence. Okay, and when you have land, you can really be free. So they were still dependent upon Europeans for their livelihood, largely. Okay, so when you have Juneteenth celebrations that take place all around the country, and people could check out Juneteenth.com, Juneteenth.com. That's the official website for the Juneteenth celebration. They have a history there. And what's going to take place is during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 1960s, you're going to have both positive and negative results for Juneteenth celebrations. Now, it pulled many African American youth away into the civil rights struggle, but many linked these struggles to the historical struggles of their ancestors. This was evidenced by student demonstrators involved in the Atlanta Civil Rights Campaign in the early 1960s, and they wore Juneteenth freedom buttons, And then again in 1968, Juneteenth received another strong resurgence through the Poor People's March, the Poor People's Campaign, Poor People's March to Washington, D.C. You had Reverend Ralph Abernathy, who called for people of all races, creeds, economic levels, and professions to come to Washington to show support for the poor. And many of these attendees returned home and initiated Juneteenth celebrations in areas previously absent of such activity. Okay, and you had two of the largest Juneteenth celebrations founded after the Poor People's March in 1968. They were held in Milwaukee and in Minneapolis as well. Okay, so we've seen Juneteenth spread throughout the years, and more people become aware of it. Last year in Atlanta, they had about 5,000 people who came out to their Juneteenth celebration. Okay, this year they probably have the same or more. And African Americans are also looking for something to celebrate as well in the era of Donald Trump. Many of us are looking for something to celebrate that celebrates our history, okay, our culture. Now, what's interesting is that we'll be in Atlanta. Now, in Atlanta is where you have something called Stone Mountain. And Stone Mountain is a huge mountain in Georgia. And they have carvings on the side of the mountain of Confederate heroes. Okay, Jefferson Davis, General Robert E. Lee, and there's one other. Okay, let me see who I forgot who the other one is. But I've seen Stone Mountain. I've been to the top of Stone Mountain, and what they've done in Georgia is they turned Stonewall Jackson. Yeah, that's right, Colonel Stonewall Jackson. So these are three Confederate heroes, and there's a there are huge carvings of them, reliefs of them on the side of Stone Mountain in Georgia. Okay, and if you've been to Georgia, maybe you saw it, didn't know what you were looking at. But this celebrates the Confederacy. This celebrates the Confederate States. Georgia was one of those Confederate states. And these people took up arms to fight against the Union to maintain slavery. General Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, they owned slaves. They succeeded from the Union, took up arms, fought against the Union to maintain slavery. And they celebrate this in Georgia. So when we have, this is Europeans that created this stuff, right? So, and I've been to Stone Mountain, they turned it into an amusement park. There's an actual amusement park there at Stone Mountain, and they have all types of rides and things like this. And then when you get to the top of the mountain, now some people, the mountain is kind of steep, but you can climb up the mountain. Some parts of it, there's a railing, and they have stairs. Other parts is just mountain, and you can walk up. Okay, so you have a lot of people who train. They're into physical fitness, things like this. So they'll run up and down the mountain for exercise, right? So last year, I was at Stone Mountain in Georgia. It's during the summertime. It was July. Because I was there for the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo, and I'll be back in Atlanta in the third weekend of July, the 13th through the 15th. Okay, so I'll be in Atlanta this coming weekend, 15th through the 17th of June, for the Juneteenth celebration, and I'll be back in Atlanta for the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo, because I'm there every year. The third weekend in July, I'm in Atlanta because I'm one of the presenters at the expo, and I'm one of the vendors. So I was there at the Stone Mountain with Rick Mathis. Now, Rick Mathis is the director of the film series Black Friday that you've heard me talk about before. I'm in the film Black Friday. Professor Kabahaya Wapa Kamenez in there, Booker T. Coleman, Tony Browder, Dr. Claude Anderson, George Frazier, Les Brown, Chuck D, Professor Griff. There's a lot of us in the film the three film Black Friday. Okay, we have them available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So we're going up this mountain. We're going up the side of the mountain. I've never been there before. We're going up the side of the mountain. Takes us 30 minutes to get up the mountain. This summertime, I'm sweating. I have a 25-pound backpack on and jeans. I didn't know we were going to do all that type of work. I would have wore some shorts. But we're going up the mountain to film my portion of Black Friday Part 2, which is the third installment, the Living Legacy, which deals with our African global legacy, African history around the world, and tying that to economic empowerment. So if you've seen the film, or when you see the film, okay, when the portion that they filmed, that Rick filmed to me, we're at the top of Stone Mountain. So when we get to the top of Stone Mountain, now here's the thing. Now, you know, I'm sweating. It's 90, 95 degrees, damn near 100. It's about 95, I think, that day in Atlanta, right? So then we're about 2 minutes away from the top of the mountain, because it takes us a half hour, 35 minutes to climb up there. Then he tells me, he says, on the way down, you can take the cable car on the way down. Cable car? You mean we could have taken a cable car up this big ass mountain? You know, so I took the cable car back down. All right. The cable car ride took about 2 minutes. I didn't know anything about a cable car. So if you go to Stone Mountain, you don't have to climb up that mountain. You can take the cable car up and down. I can't remember, it was like $5 for the, no, I think $7 for the ride. Well worth it, okay? But when we get to the top of Stone Mountain, they have a souvenir shop. In the souvenir shop at the top of Stone Mountain, on basically all the stuff they're selling, they had a picture of these 3 Confederate soldiers, these white men who fought to keep slavery in place, to keep their slaves. They have a picture of General Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and Jefferson Davis on keychains, on hats, on mugs, on cups, all types. That's like the emblem, the logo of Stone Mountain. This is what they have on there. I'm not talking about 1968. I'm talking about 2017. I'm sitting there looking at this. I'm like, whoa, this is deep. But we're in Georgia. We're in the South. So when you have things like people trying to conserve Confederate monuments, and these are symbols of white supremacy and racism. Now, some people grew up watching the TV show The Dukes of Hazzard. And the Dukes of Hazzard helped to normalize, the Confederacy, so to speak. And what I mean by that is that people see the Dukes, the Duke boys, born Luke Duke, just some good old boys, never meaning no harm, beats all you ever saw, get in trouble with the losses the day they were born, right? But you don't have them talking negatively about African Americans, things like this, right? So what happens is people see, like when I was a kid and I would watch the Dukes of Hazzard, okay? I ain't know anything about the Confederacy. I knew about slavery, but I ain't know anything about the Confederacy and succeeding from the Union. I ain't know about the Confederate flag. I ain't know what it meant. So we see so check this out. What was the name of the car on the Dukes of Hazzard that Born Luke Duke drove? What was the name of the car? The name of the car was the General Lee, named after General Robert E. Lee, who was a white supremacist slave owner. He was a brutal slave owner who fought to keep slavery in place. This is who the car's named after. General Lee is named after General Robert E. Lee. It's right in front of our face. But most of us didn't understand history to understand this. So then on the top of the car, right, you have what people think is the Confederate flag. But it's not the Confederate flag. That's the Confederate battle flag of General Robert E. Lee's army in Northern Virginia. See, so let me see. When I come to Atlanta, one of the presentations, you come to my vendor table, one of the presentations I have with me is dealing with the history of the Confederate monuments and the Confederate flag and why General Robert E. Lee was against both of them. Because I've done a lecture on that. Okay, I don't have it over here. I'm getting all my DVDs together, burning my DVDs, labeling them. Okay, I don't have it here at the desk. But you can order from AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, okay? And I deal with the whole history of the Confederate monuments, right? All this ties into history. All this ties into what's going on today, okay? Because you just had 2 white supremacists who won the primaries for the Congress. Okay, one guy, he shot a video of himself standing there with a Confederate battle flag, and he got guys behind him wearing Confederate uniforms. This just happened this past week, early Tuesday. So what the TV show The Dukes of Hazzard did for a lot of people is the Confederate battle flag it took away a lot of the negative connotation around it. It took away, because see, that flag never flew over the Confederate States of America. There were 3 flags that flew over the Confederate States of America from 1861 to 1865. The flag that people call the Confederate flag, the flag that these white supremacists are running around with called the Confederate flag, that flag was not one of them. So this is why I look at a lot of them, I laugh, because they don't even understand history. The history that they claim they're trying to preserve, they don't even understand. These some of the dumbest ass people I've ever seen. Then August 12th, 2017, you have a rally in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, I think it was Charlotte, North Carolina, called Unite the Right. Unite the Right rally, right? So you have 12 white supremacist organizations that are that organize, and they claim they're trying to save this statue, Confederate statue of General Robert E. Lee. Because the city council there, whatever, the politicians, they were debating taking down that statue. Well, if these people knew how to read, they would know that General Robert E. Lee was against Confederate monuments, he was against Confederate statues, and he was against using the Confederate battle flag or any of the Confederate flags after the Civil War ended. But see, they don't read. They don't study history. I'm listening to what they're saying. They have no clue what they're talking about. They're trying to claim a history that's not even theirs. Okay, so there was a good article from the Atlantic called "The Myth of the Kindly General Lee." The myth of the kindly General Lee. The legend of the Confederate leader's heroism and decency is based in the fiction of a person who never existed. And they talk about how a brutal slave owner he was, things like this. But when you research General Lee, he was against using the Confederate flag or the monuments after the Civil War was over with. He felt that there needed to be a time of healing between the North and the South. And he felt that using the Confederate battle flags or Confederate flags and having these monuments would keep those wounds open. He was against it. He was asked a number of times. He was asked to come to events where they were going to honor him with a statue or have Confederate statues, and he declined. Okay, so the people out here trying to save a statue of General Robert E. Lee don't even know he was against them. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that you had 11 states in the Confederacy. 11 states in the Confederacy. Why do you have Confederate monuments in 31 states out of 50 in this country? You only had 11 states in the Confederacy. Why do you have Confederate monuments in 31 states? Because the Confederate monuments were largely erected to terrorize African Americans and to keep us in a low position in this country, a low subordinate servitude type position. The two periods of time that you have the largest amounts of Confederate monuments and statues erected are 1895 to 1915. And this is the year, 1895 is the year before Plessy versus Ferguson. Okay. U.S. Supreme Court case which institutes Jim Crow nationally and the separate but equal. And then 1895 to 1915. 1915 is the year the movie The Birth of a Nation comes out. Okay, February 8th, 1915, second year of World War I. Then you had 1955 to 1970. 1955, 1970, basically the civil rights era. Okay. In 1955 is the year after U.S. Supreme Court decision Brown versus Board of Education, which was rendered May 17th, 1954. So Brown versus Board of Education, you have a whole backlash that takes place in the state of Virginia. The governor of the state of Virginia shut down all the schools in the state of Virginia because they did not want to desegregate. They shut down all the schools in the state of Virginia, basically public schools. I'm not sure about the private schools, but all public schools in the state of Virginia, they shut them down when the Supreme Court case from Brown versus Board of Education came down. You're going to have a whole backlash that takes place from this. And you're going to have a whole new round of Confederate statues and things like this that are erected in opposition to the civil rights movement. Also, you're going to have a lot of schools that are going to be renamed after Confederate heroes and Confederate soldiers after Brown versus Board of Education in defiance of it. And this is why every Confederate monument needs to be taken down. Every Confederate monument across the country. I think there's somewhere, today I think there's somewhere around 800 of them left. Every Confederate monument needs to be taken down. There's an article, the history.com, which is the official website of the History Channel. They have an article dealing with why there's so many Confederate monuments or something like that. Hold on, I'll pull it up. Let me see, what's the name of that one? Okay, it's and it deals with, it explains why there are so many Confederate monuments in states that were not part of the Confederacy. Let's see here, hold on. It's history.com. I want to try to pull it up for you. Okay, yeah, it's called How the U.S. Government Got So Many Confederate Monuments. How the U.S. government got so many Confederate monuments. History.com, August 17th, 2017. Okay, you should read this article. All right, roughly about 700 Confederate monuments still exist in the U.S. today, approximately. Many of these commemorations of those on the losing side of the Civil War are a lot newer than one might think. Okay. See, these Confederate monuments honor traitors to the Union also. They honor traitors to the Union. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which compiled a list of these monuments in 2016, these monuments are spread over 31 states, plus the District of Columbia, far exceeding the 11 Confederate states that seceded at the outset of the Civil War. And they show you a huge picture of Stone Mountain. They show you the relief on Stone Mountain of President Jefferson Davis, General Robert E. Lee, and General Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Yeah, General Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Okay, so this history is deep. So when people celebrate Juneteenth, okay, this is all connected to Juneteenth. And I'm talking about when people celebrate Juneteenth, okay, June 19th, 1865, commemorate that. We're a lot of history, okay, that then leads to the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, leads to the Jim Crow segregation, leads to increase in racial terrorism against African Americans. It's going to lead into the Great Migration of 1915 to 1960, where you have estimates are between 5 million to 6 million African Americans migrating from the South up north and out west. Okay, so all this history, all this history is connected. Okay, all this history is connected. All right, so there's Juneteenth celebrations taking place around the country. Detroit, you'll see some of them listed on Facebook. Okay, and go to for Atlanta once again. In Atlanta, it's the website is JuneteenthATL.com. Easy to remember, JuneteenthATL.com. And that is taking place Friday, June 15th through Sunday, June 17th. Okay, at Mozely Park in Atlanta, and then part of it is at part of it is at um, the college, Morris Brown College. Okay, part of it is at Morris Brown College also. All right. Okay, now how's everybody doing? Okay, we've got Leslie. So, how y'all like this type of information? How y'all like this type of information? And this is an annual celebration, so this ties history into a celebration. Okay, and this year across the country, a lot of people will be with the Juneteenth celebration. A lot of people will tie that into the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, starting to get choppy. All right, so if you like this type of information, also register for the online courses that I teach. We have them in a bundle pack. We have them in a bundle pack. They're on sale $60, regularly $130. And it includes ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, that is all these courses are on demand. We have 10 in the bundle pack. This is a 14-hour, 7-session online course. I deal with thousands of years of history. We deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors. We deal with ancient Egypt. We deal with transatlantic slave trade and events that lead up to it taking place. We deal with Christopher Columbus and the role he plays in the transatlantic slave trade. And I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have video clips. So that's on sale. We have a bundle pack. You get 10 courses in the bundle pack. They're all on demand. Watch at your own pace. Watch from around the world. It's on sale $60. We just posted the link here on the thread of the broadcast. You can also go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and it's right on the homepage. So as soon as you register, you can start watching. Okay. The bundle pack also includes African American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. It includes a online class I did March 31st dealing with the film Black Panther, a Black Panther analysis. It includes great African women in history, the mothers of civilization. So it includes a number of online classes that I've done. Okay. All right, and if you want to donate to the African History Network, you can do that as well. That helps us. All this, and when you order the DVDs, when you sign up for the online classes, that helps us to stay on the air, keep doing the research, pay the bills, travel, because I'm paying my way to Atlanta, paying my way there and paying my way back. So this helps me to travel, get where I'm going also, because I had to pay for the plane ticket. I got to pay the Uber, all that stuff I have to pay. All right, paypal.me/the AHN show. Paypal.me/the AHN show. Okay, you can donate to the African History Network there if you like as well. If you want to set it up for a monthly recurring donation, you can do that also if you like. All right. So while I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to broadcast on Facebook Live. We'll broadcast live from the event, from the Juneteenth celebration. I'm going to try to broadcast live my presentation as well. Okay, I'm speaking for 10 minutes, but I'll also speak at the historians tent in April also. Okay, so this is my first time at this event. I'm not exactly sure how it's laid out, but I know I will be there. So those in the Atlanta area, come on out and tell your friends about it also. We're going to post the information here again, and go to Juneteenth.com, Juneteenth-ATL.com. Let's post the link here again. We also have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, so let's take let's look at some of your comments here. We've got Latanya, definitely will do the online course. Renee, good stuff. Never learned none of this in school. We'll go to some more of your comments here. Latanya said, love it, brother. Roger said, love it and all that you do. All right, thanks, man. There's a lot of work. People don't understand. Man, there's a lot of work. I'm getting all my DVDs together for this, and I was doing research because I'm putting together my presentation also for that I'll be delivering at Juneteenth as well. Leslie, truth always comes. Okay, Renee, never knew that. Donna Bell, I totally appreciate the hard work you put into your broadcast. All right, thanks. And see, I do research before I come on here. I don't just come on here and just start talking. I do research as well. This is information I already know, but I do research also. I was reviewing information about Juneteenth before I even came on here. Okay, we have a 48-hour sale going on. We have a few hours left in the 48-hour sale. It's for our 6 DVD Black Panther bundle pack. Our 6 DVD Black Panther bundle pack, where you get 3 of my presentations dealing with the film Black Panther, and also 3 other presentations as well. It's regularly $75. It's on sale $45 at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We just posted the information there on the thread of the broadcast. So you can order that also, okay? These are DVD lectures. All right, Donna, okay, truly appreciate the work. Okay, thanks, Donna. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at info@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, info@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we can make it happen, okay? info@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or contact me through my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Renee said traveling is not cheap. You ain't lying, because I'm either going to have to, I live a half hour away from the airport, so I'm either going to have to take an Uber out to the airport or drive my car out there and pay for overnight parking, $13 a day. And then also when you travel, you have to pay for food too. So traveling is no joke. I was in New Jersey in May, because I was on Lord Jamar of Brand Nubian and Rod Digger, the hip hop artist Rod Digger. I was on their podcast show with the Herb Alchemist with Brittany. I was on there. That was May. I'm in Atlanta in June, and I'm back in Atlanta in July. Okay, Carolyn said, thanks for sharing information. Great job. All right. Let me know if you have any questions before I get out of here. We'll be here for a couple more minutes, okay? All right. Be sure to listen to the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, okay? And this Sunday, they're going to rebroadcast the show from last Sunday when I interviewed Dr. Claude Anderson, okay? So you get to hear that again when I interviewed Dr. Claude Anderson. All right. All right. Okay. Share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. Be sure to follow our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. And when you follow us, also turn the notification on so you get a notification when we go live as well. All right. And then follow me on YouTube as well at Michael Imhotep on YouTube also. Okay. Michael Imhotep on YouTube as well. All right. So let's see. Rashonda said, thanks for the good information. So we have to understand that the people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community, how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. All right. So all of this, all these things that we look at today, the debate over the Confederate monuments, right? When we deal with different policies, we talk about immigration policies. All this ties into history. All this ties into history, okay? And what we're looking at is understanding how a sequence of historical events lead up to a larger event taking place. All right, Professor Kaba Kamene, also formerly known as Booker T. Coleman, one of my teachers. You've seen him in the Hidden Colors documentaries. I just interviewed him in May, dealing with the Kanye West fiasco and Kanye West's crazy comments about slavery. Professor Kaba talks about how to understand the existence of something, you first must understand the pre-existence of existence. To understand the existence of something, you must first understand the pre-existence of existence, okay? So things don't happen in a vacuum. You have to understand how a sequence of historical events leads up to a larger event taking place, all right? Okay, let's look at some of your last comments. I have to get out of here. I have a lot of work to do. Donna, okay, yes, thank you, Michael. Okay, Tanya, thank you, great information. All right, so we post a link again there. If you want to donate to the African History Network, you can, paypal.me/the AHN show, okay? Or if you want to purchase some of our DVD lectures, you can at africanhistorynetwork.com. You can register for the online courses. We have a bundle pack, 10 in the bundle pack, all on demand. They include Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, okay? And then also, you know, at our website, we have over 800 audio podcasts of our radio shows, okay? Over 800 audio podcasts of our radio shows, including the one I just did this past Sunday, all right? So it's AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Right on the home page, click on the link, listen to podcasts of Michael Imhotep, all right? They go back to 2010, the audio podcasts. Okay. All right, look, we got to get out of here. Hey, remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct your own behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you haven't taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Remember, right now it's correct your own behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.